you ready?
I almost said 6. I don't know why.
Damn.
I had to stop myself. Anyway, hello everybody. Weeb club time.
Howdy, gamers. Yeah. You know, like, just how's it going? How are you, Nun? You joined the call last before we started recording, so we didn't really get to ask you. How you doing? How's it going? How's it feel to be Nunmanji in this moment?
Having a time.
Yeah, that goes hard.
Yep.
Neat.
All right, do you just want to...
Craftsdwarf certified? Neat.
Hell yeah. Do you just want to jump right into comments, gamers?
Yeah. The only one I have to respond to is the long one by Markster, where he talks about sort of how just some experiences with his expectations going into things. Where one example with Hoshino Samadare, where he felt like maybe his expectations were a bit higher than, you know, and then he said he's going to reread it, and you know, and then he also has some examples, and then where, you know, he felt like his expectations were perfect. And then also he did mention something that I was thinking about bringing up, because we talked about Oshinoko and the opening, and but yeah, there's a music video to the full version of the opening that I thought was pretty cool, and I actually happened to have watched it before he mentioned it, or before I saw him mentioning it. So,
that's nice.
You know, just thought, yeah, give it a look.
Titania says None actually wrote bullet points. I am so happy. Yeah, did you do that this time, None?
No, I did not.
Okay, because I actually, I don't know if I said it. I had bullet points written out too. I had like a whole like page of notes I had for the last show of like for all the sections, but then yeah, I didn't this time because I don't even know what the fucking topic is, honestly, because I asked earlier today and no one said anything.
Thinking about, I thought AI was mentioned, but I guess it wasn't concretely mentioned, and I understand if you don't want to do that one.
No, we can. I was the one who suggested that topic. I just didn't know that's what we were fucking. We
can. Well, because I remember you said that you want to do like research into it, maybe, but we can also just send it. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can send it and then maybe do a part 2 if people feel like there's a lot to say. But None. Do you have any comments?
I don't have any comments.
Okay, there's nothing on the Reddit either, so we can just go into the topic.
All right. Yeah.
Y'all are slacking, by the way. Fucking get it together.
What do you mean?
No, the commenters and the fucking audience who, like, there's barely any comments and there's nothing on the Reddit. Like, get it together. Not you guys. You guys are fine. I love you. We
gotta ask them to comment stuff. We gotta set stuff up for them to comment. So I'll think of something during the topic.
So I guess where to start on AI, I guess, because like I think the big topic lately has definitely been on AI generated artwork, which, you know, I think vaguely from what I've heard, like there's some fear of it like potentially like taking work and jobs away from artists because of, you know, if it can be generated, then you know, so obviously I think it's a ways off from that. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, so in terms of that, really quickly, just to like explain why I think that potentially could be a problem, but it's more, I think it's like, it's something where, you know, it's gonna be like, it's hard to prove. Like, okay, so essentially, there's like 2 ways that it can go about it, right? Which is like, I'll use video games because that's probably the easiest example, just because like it's so large, right? That like, you know, people worry that like a very practical use of AI will be in like big open world games, right? Where like there's a lot that's being made, and you know, like that's already kind of done with procedural generation, but like a lot of times what would actually be done in a real setting to, you know, try to avoid getting sued for copyright law, like, and having your entire game that you're already going to be, no matter what, putting, you know, millions of dollars into getting fucked, is you would have a team of artists create the baseline that the AI follows, right? Like the AI, you know, wouldn't just from go be able to just do it, you know?
Yeah.
That's like the first thing, because like the thing with like the open, like the GPT ones where you can just like type something in and it can give you, art, that's using art that it just finds on the internet, and like something that is being sold like for money and created by a company like genuinely cannot do that, because you can't just like take art off the internet, right? Like obviously like that's fucking illegal, which like is like obvious, but I think sometimes people don't like actually like think about it in like that aspect where the AI is using the open art from the internet, so obviously like it wouldn't like you can't do that and then just create something and sell it, because using that art without the consent, so you would have to pay artists to make like the baseline art that then the AI would use. And so like that's how that would work. And so in that instance, artists still have jobs. It's just like the AI is used to facilitate, to maybe make things larger or more detailed or do more than just people could do on their own, but you still need people to facilitate like the AI being able to work,
Which is interesting when you put it like that. Oh, sorry, you can go ahead, Nun. I'll remember my thought.
All right. I feel like with what you're saying, though, something that could be potentially done is kind of like with large companies that have like a lot of franchises or like a very long running thing, they could just feed in artwork that they do legally own and then kind of use it to like toward newer projects instead of like rehiring some of those artists that they already like had for certain things. Like obviously it won't like fully replace them, but there's like some aspects of the production that they're just kind of like maybe going to be able to cut out artists from. I guess like an example would be like a series as long as like Gundam or something. Like there's a lot of fucking art that they just kind of have. I don't know how that works with like anime production. I don't know that much about like AI generated art, but I'm just giving like an example of like a really long running thing with an art style that's like kind of not consistent among like the series, but like there's definitely series like parts of the franchise that look very similar to each other, so I could see that being like a use case.
Okay, well, what I was going to bring up is sort of how I think this discussion has happened before, I'm sure, even if I can't point at a specific example, because at a certain point within the last few decades we had computers getting to the point where even just like it's not really AI, I guess, because it's not intelligence necessarily, but there's still an element of computers in art that like we could even say are taking jobs, right? Like so an example I thought of is there was a TED talk by the one of the anime staff who did the Knights of Sidonia anime, which was entirely CG, and I remember just that, and just the sort of general discussion of CG and anime, where like just to give an example of like a common example you can see it used is like, say there's a high school, there's a big crowd of students and they're all CG, right? Well, that's a job taken away from artists, right? Could have been human beings drawing those students, animating those students, right? But instead that was cut. And I mean, obviously there are CG artists involved, but there's also more like tweening, for example, or the in-betweeners are a specific position in anime that when it comes to CG, they're like the computer becomes the in-betweener in that sense. So we can argue that is a job being taken from a potential artist. But the reason I bring up that TED talk is because the speaker, one of the things he mentioned about that is that by taking by giving certain tasks to computers and having being able to use, like, say, do a crowd scene in CG, it allows the artists who are already working on the project to spend their time doing other more interesting things, basically, which is why a lot of the time, like sometimes in those cases when you get CG in anime, it's not always for like a big important thing, it's for a small minor thing, right? So when it comes to AI art, it's definitely very different, but I think there's some similarity as well, which is I was trying to get across.
In particular, there's been like ideas thrown around of like AI could focus on doing like the backgrounds for like anime or like shows or even games. So it definitely isn't like quite at the level where like it could like just replace artists entirely, but it's more like a supplemental aspect.
Yeah, exactly. Just like computer, as mentioned, because I remember like my friend pointed out, like there's like an artist for Bethesda, who literally just worked in all of their work in Skyrim was just the chairs, basically. And it's like, well, if we had computers AI generating chairs, like, that's not going to necessarily take away from the artistic integrity of an Elder Scrolls game, while also that artist can go on and be doing more interesting things, right? Of course, there's also a possibility that he never would have been hired, but that's, that's, not even a topic unique to art, I guess, because, like, what about automation in, industry, right? Like computers, not necessarily AI, but machines, that's also a concern where it's like, I think I was going somewhere with that, but I'm not. To add something, though, about the idea of, like, hiring an artist to do art and then have AI adapt that art, basically, or iterate on that art. I've actually kind of already seen that. I can't mention any specific artists because of the work they do, and this is the old, because it's through Pixiv where I've seen this, and I only use Pixiv for porn, so I'm not sharing by the details. But one artist that I was following, basically they had 2 accounts, and one old account got removed for one reason. They deleted it, and then they've been re-uploading their old art, which I can find on other sites like Xhentai if I wanted to compare. But the new art has been updated with AI generated, like, changes, so it looks different, and not necessarily better or worse some of the times. Like, sometimes there's, like, a weird interpretation of a line here or there, but then there's also versions where they went back and corrected what the AI did, so which just makes me think of that example of, like, AI being able to cut down on the work of an artist, where, in this case this isn't like a professionally hired artist, this is just some dude making degenerate shit for other people online, but it's like, this is,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't really know how much or if anything like this has happened with other artists that I would be able to point at and not oust myself as being fucked on the head, but that's how it is sometimes.
I was just thinking that was, like, kind of interesting how AI, like, I feel like it's much more interesting for AI in the use in, like, the hands of a singular artist or, like, an extremely small team who are just, like, incredibly limited in the resources that they have. Granted, it kind of depends on, like, what they're using the AI for, and, like, is it just, like, stealing art from other artists inherently, or are they, kind of avoiding that? But, like, I do think, like, for a single artist, like, if someone's working on a game by themselves, I think using AI to help them out is fine and, like, potentially maybe interesting. Like, if they can find an ethical way to do that. But I do think that, like, big companies using, like, AI to, like, not have certain people do the backgrounds, or, like, cut, like, trying to cut people out of the work is kind of, like, cringe, and, like, there's just no, like, it's hard to, like, fully, like, justify that. Like, there's no world where some of the companies interested in using AI don't have the resources to, like, pay somebody to do that. But it's kind of, like, my thought with that, I guess.
But yeah, I guess another thing related to this topic, this is actually older and also not, like, more computers than AI, but I just remember seeing a video of basically no, maybe it was AI, I guess. So where basically some CG artists in Japan had made, like, an animation of, like, this is what a computer generated of, like, this weird human that didn't, it was very unnatural and didn't work. And mostly the reason that I saw the video is because Miyazaki, the fucking Studio Ghibli guy, didn't like it at all, because he cares a lot about animation and he saw it as, like, anti-life, and, like, he basically bullied the guy until he fucking was tearing up, pretty much. And I guess, like, my sort of stance thinking about that after the fact was just, like, it's still humans who choose to, like even when you're using AI art, you're not just like, okay, this is the first thing it came up with, throw it in. It's like, as a human, you're still making the conscious choice to do that, I guess, and that in itself, can potentially add to a work. Like, what if you're writing a robot character and you used AI generation to like make all their lines, right? Instead of writing it yourself. Like, you're still making a choice there, you know, an artistic choice, right? Like, and that's a, you know, kind of a weird
okay. Not in that way, but that happened. Kind of.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the goats, so Trey Stone and Matt Parker in the newest season, they did an episode about AI.
Oh.
And to give like a brief synopsis of the episode, because it was a fucking great episode, actually. So the entire episode, like, what's kind of happening is Stan needs a way to text Wendy because he's like not doing it and texting her, right? And she feels
because he's just because I know the creators of South Park, but
yeah, it's South Park. Sorry, this is South Park. Okay,
gotcha.
So newest season of South Park had an episode, and like he's just not keeping it up texting wise. Clyde's doing a great job with Bebe, and he's like, Clyde, how do I text her? And he's like, look, you just put what she says into Chat GPT, and it gives it back to you, and you just do it like that. And so he starts doing that, and then they start using Chat GPT to cheat on their school assignments and stuff like that. And at the end of the episode, like, all the shit's going crazy, and like everything's like, you know, there's a like, you know, the kind of comedy of errors of the episode is coming to like a head. And Stan's like, what do I do? And he like types into Chat GPT like the prompt. He types in his situation as a story prompt, and then puts in like, you know, write like a story based around this. And then like they literally put that into Chat GPT, and then the rest of the episode is just what ChatGPT gave out. They animated and then used AI voices to voice all the characters that spoke in the scene. So like they literally had the end of an episode as like a very clear joke, and like it's clear what's happening. They used like AI to write and like voice it all. And it's fucking hilarious, and like they're the goats, you know?
That's pretty great, actually. Yeah. See, and yeah, that's that's something that like couldn't be done without AI, right? But obviously it's very self-referential, you know. But no, that's actually pretty cool. I like that. Because yeah, I don't want to dismiss it outright, but obviously like, and I don't know, especially with the way just corporate, like Nun was kind of getting at with corporations, where it's like, you know, at the end of the day, what they want is a robot who can do all the things that you can. Like, because a robot doesn't ask for raises,
they would prefer
right?
for it to be cheaper. Like, it would be a cost-cutting measure for certain corporations if it were like unregulated, which is like, I'm sure a lot of people would want that.
Right. You know, so it's definitely, well, and I'm not sure how much do you guys have more to say about like artwork specifically? Or animation, I guess, because I have another, like, a pivot, I guess, to a different related topic.
Okay, yeah, so anytime it's, like, AI animation where, like, it's, like, AI animating something else, like, over it, like a video or something, look, that technology is, like, kind of cool. It is not there yet. Outside of, like, rewriting, like, deepfake face shit, kind of is there. Not completely yet, obviously. Like the uncanny valley like still like is there, and like it's obvious what it is, so like it could never completely pass. And that would be when like it would be scary and you could get things. Like I hope I want to talk about it like in the music industry at some point, because like there's some really crazy shit with that's been going on. But like I think for like the like animation shit, it is clearly like not there yet. So I don't think people have to worry about it like passing and, you know, like people losing jobs over like purely animation. It's like clearly AI like isn't there yet.
Yeah. And I was going to say, but yeah, the pivot I was thinking of is actually machine translation, which I think has also been picking up because like DeepL is a website I'll use sometimes because it actually gives almost readable if you parse through and try to understand the context of translations from one language to another. And so like I think like because I follow a translator or two on Twitter, and so I've seen them talking about it a lot, and it's also not at the point where it can replace translators yet, but that's mostly it in like professional areas. Like I believe there was one project that was machine translation passed off as actual translation, but that didn't it was outed, and people, didn't like that, obviously. And obviously, I'm sure it showed in the work. But an example of that, again, going to my biggest experience with AI is also through my degeneracy. I'm sorry, but in the like sort of, because now we're talking into like niches of niches when you get into like fucking doujins and hentai translations, because like what's happening is people are using machine translation to make shitty translations, which then get like rating bombed on X hentai. And then what'll sometimes happen is people will like, this thing, good work made by an actual fucking human being, deserves more respect. So I'll translate it properly and it'll get a good translation. But then that creates a meta where people are deliberately making shitty machine translations so that they can get the thing they want translated for free. And so it's like, it's creating just a very weird situation that a part of me also kind of understands, because when you consider supply and demand, well, like, everyone wants more porn, I guess, in this case, or even just like expanding it just to Japanese stuff in general is like, especially, as I engage in a lot of it, like there's so many manga and anime that I would love to see translated, but aren't. There's important ones that I want to see one day, but I can't. Like, I can't just watch Minky Momo, one of the most important magical girl series ever, because like 20 episodes out of like 80 are translated. I'm fucked. And it's probably never going to be fully translated, at least not for a long time. So it's like, I can kind of understand where machine translation, because I guess like the question is a shitty translation that you can kind of understand what's going on better or than not having any translation at all? And for some people, the answer would be no, but then, it also still happens, so that's kind of I don't know, what I was thinking about.
So I think that, like, I would personally say at the end of the day, any translation at all, like, yeah, that's better than nothing. I would argue that, while obviously still better than, an AI translation is, it's not like, like, we're eating now in terms of the amount of things translated. I don't always think in terms of the quality of those translations. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's also been discussed, where it's like, it's kind of interesting where if you like look back like 10-15 years when fan subs were popular, like the low bar was very low, but nowadays the official translation has created like a middle bar where it's like, it's okay,
exactly,
but it's not amazing.
It's
so we
passable,
don't accept, no one accepts the low bar anymore, but the highest bar comes from the fan translators now,
And the fan translators, not that they don't exist, but like they have much less of a reason to now, and they do less, right? Like back in the day, and like, I wasn't like, but like bigger subgroups that like do good releases, people who like torrented shit, like, or people who torrent shit still talk about it, right? Like I'm part of, like a private tracker that like has forums, and I look on them sometimes, and like people talk about like, the good subgroups. The thing is, like, they don't release that much, and like the most anime fans don't watch those like really nice good releases of stuff, because that's not what they're seeing, right? They're watching it on streaming, like, or you're watching it on Kiss Anime,
Go Anime.
Yeah, and even people who torrent it normally, you just like type it in on Yan, you're not paying attention to, is it like commies or any of the subgroups that people
it's like, do you gamble on a subgroup that, because there are still some like shit subs and meme subs, like those still exist. Like there was a Isekai Dude, which is what one translator called, they were fucking around, I guarantee. It was Isekai Oji-san, but they're like, I don't even, he's not an uncle, is he? I'm just gonna call him Isekai Dude, because he is an uncle of the main character, fucking, like, he's clearly doesn't give a shit, or he's just trolling, right? So it's like, that still happens, but like, or you could pick, the subs please / horrible subs option, the one that has probably the most seeders, and it's official, so again, it's going to have that baseline. You don't have to gamble on the baseline, right? Even though, because there's definitely other groups.
Yeah.
Like for Precure, I use Serenai, which is a fan subgroup that I think makes a better quality translation than the official one, so I don't even fucking bother with the official one with Precure. So but with the new random fucking seasonal, I don't fucking know which one is gonna. Nope, they didn't sub the opening either. I have no fucking. All the Kamen Rider Geats is a weird example, because there's like 4 different subgroups and they all have like different translations of some terms, and I kind of like, they're all fine, but none of them is like perfect. So it's like, I just fucking pick the first one that comes out at this point. So there's so many just I don't know. I don't look into it enough to find the best ones. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Teehee.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I would say at the end of the day, to like go back just to like restate the point is that like I would rather, like in terms of just translation really quickly, I think that I would rather have more things translated than not. I think especially where it could be useful is really long shit, obviously. So like VNs, I could see it being really nice for, right? Because there's a lot of VNs that are just locked. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I could see, and like, I don't read a lot of VNs. I've read a couple in my life, but I'm not, a big VN guy. But like, I would be excited for people that would have the potential to, even in like, not the most ideal way, be able to, read something. I think like a translation is better than no translation. And if, and this is also something very possible, is like something gets an AI translation and it's bad, but it, is able to hold out a fan base and turn something into something where people then ask for a real translation that then comes out and is better. You know what I mean? Like that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is exactly. But cause like, I don't know. Cause I'm trying to think of an example where it's like, I can't think of a situation I was in where I did feel like having no translation was better than, cause even like, I don't know, it's not translation, it's more adaptation, but back when Chaos Child went, before that the visual novel got announced for having an English release, my only way to enjoy the story was the anime, and a lot of people, especially those who knew of the visual novel, didn't like it because, it cut a lot of content and, didn't really represent the full game. But even looking back, I think like it nailed certain things about the main character that I still got stuff out of it as a story. Like my stance on, I haven't gone back to rewatch it, but my stance on it is still like, even if I never play this visual novel, I'm glad I got to experience the story this way. And when playing the visual novel, like I'd say my experience was only enhanced. Like, sure, I might have not have been like gotten, like we talked about spoilers recently, I might not have gotten a full blind experience and the, cool stuff that could come with that, but I actually got, I got enough out of the story that I was able to make literally 2 videos on it after playing it once, because I already kind of knew some things going in and I clicked things together, so, but yeah, and as far as bad translations, they absolutely exist, so I don't know, I guess there have been in cases, again, mostly in the avenues I've talked about before, where if the translation's bad, I just will back out, but it's usually not something I value that much in the first place, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk quickly about unless Nunn, do you have something to say about translations? Actually, I'm sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
Oh, well, because I was just going to completely shift it, so if you actually did have something you want to say, I would definitely say it.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I assume Crafts you haven't seen this. I don't know if you've seen this, probably not, None. But like there's been like stuff in music recently where like people have been making songs using like AI voices, because AI voices are like pretty good.
Like celebrities like collaborate who normally don't. Yeah, I've seen like a little bit of that.
Not even just ones who normally don't, even sometimes ones who do, just like making like songs that sound very oh my god. Sorry, I just saw something that stunlocked me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Roboco merch is fire. I agree.
No. Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul will be in Always Sunny season 16. Hello.
Holy shit.
Let's fucking go. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. No. So,
oh my god. I'm sorry.
It's like becoming this big thing where, because obviously, if you like, if you're a fan of a specific musical artist, obviously a large part of that is their voice, right? Like, if you're a big, like one of the big ones I've seen was there was this Drake song that was like blowing the fuck up on TikTok that was made all with AI, where what the guy like did is he wrote the song and he like did all the instrumentals for the song and the production for the song, and then he just sang it with his voice and had AI change his voice to Drake's, and then I think it was like The Weeknd was the other one. And like the song was like getting really big, and it sounded legit, and it was like a decent song, but like it was blowing up because it sounded like Drake and The Weeknd or something, and like got really big and then got taken down, right? Like it got like DMCA, copyright because it's using their voices obviously, and it wasn't them, and so it's using their likeness, which is a copyrighted thing.
Interesting.
But it's crazy
Holy
like how big
shit.
it can get, because obviously if you're like a big Drake fan, like at a certain point, like like part of it is like hearing, you know, like Drake's voice, right? And obviously I'm not a Drake fan, or not obviously, but I'm not. But like anyways, right? So like hearing like the artist's voice is a large part of that. So like it that is like a very like kind of scary thing already, or not scary thing already in music, but like it is a thing like people are paying attention to. A big one that like his voice is getting sampled a lot, because it just people have been doing it a lot. His voice is out there a lot, and he's such a big figure. Is obviously like Ye.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot where like at this point, like because you know. Now he's no longer a Nazi because Jonah Hill saved him thanks to 21 Jump Street.
Then he watched 22
And my
Jump Street and
favorite,
said, "Never
my
mind,"
favorite moment of
apparently,
2023 so far. Yeah, like I've seen like just a lot of people like make music with AI Kanye that like sounds legit, and it's crazy. So.
No, I mean, like, the fact that this guy makes basically an original song and just uses AI to emulate the voice of another person, and like, because it sounds like he did basically all the work himself except for the, you know, even the voice, except for just the modulation of that voice to sound like a different, like, that's something he could have also done himself with, you know, just sitting.
But it obviously wouldn't have been as big,
you know,
right? If it didn't have the sound of the popular artist.
No, I mean, he could have, like, the AI was able to edit the voice. He also could have edited the voice in like, just with, you know, sound design, if that makes sense, even though that would have been, it would have required skills that he likely didn't have, and time that would have been, you know, probably worth, you know, so it's like, he could, what I'm trying to say is that he did most of the song himself already, and the last % that he didn't do, he, in theory, could have already done, and it still got copyright struck and taken down, right, for, or whatever, or however it happened, right, or taken that DMCA'd, because it's for something unrelated to, I don't know, it's just interesting. Though it's also reminded me I should probably rewatch, no, never mind, it's unrelated, but yeah, yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting seeing how AI stuff unfolds as it gets better, especially. But yeah, I don't have much more to add to the topic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot more to say. Just I wanted to bring that up. Again, this is a topic if I know we were going to do, I would have done some research into it and had a little bit more to say. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it again. Maybe.
Do we want to go to Oshi no Ko, or none? Do you have anything you want to say about AI?
No, I don't really know like enough about it. Like with the art one, I literally don't know like how doing that ethically would work, and I don't know. It would literally be something I would have to research.
So, moving from AI to Oshi no Ko.
Hell yeah. This show's fucking good.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I definitely, I mean, the last episode was good, but this one was definitely like, yeah, okay, this show good.
Yeah, I like the red-haired girl. I didn't really like her that much the last time we saw her, but I think this episode sold me on her. I think it's really interesting seeing people working on a bad show that know it's bad, but still want to do the best job they can. And like, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting perspective that I'm sure people who have worked in the anime industry have dealt with that shit before. You know what I mean?
No,
I'm sure they know what it's like,
yeah.
you know, to make something bad and know it's bad, but just try your best anyways. And like, I feel like in some ways, you know, you can kind of feel that. I don't know. Like, it works, and I like it a lot.
No, I remember a video, this is back in the Digi era, when Pedantic Romantic made a video responding to a take, maybe it wasn't even by Digi, but just she was pointing out how Eromanga Sensei like legitimately has, I think it was Digi being negative on Eromanga Sensei, where it's like, no, this even like, the Eromanga Sensei is this, you know, degenerate shit, but even if there's staff on it that probably doesn't give a shit and even dislikes it, like, there's still quality here that shouldn't be dismissed just because it's not a good show, right? Like, that exact kind of, you know, you just reminded me of that when, you know, people working on a thing that's not great, or in this case, like, I don't know, because it's made to prop up these actors or these models rather, and like, God, when we see the fucking manga author's face, where it's just like, God, you know, just seeing basically your baby get just destroyed in this adaptation, and yeah, Kana is good, and you know, it's cool to see the way she's grown. And well, one thing this episode did for me that I think is really good is because I was wondering, about the like how is the story going to like, you know, because it's, you know, as like a thriller of looking, Aqua diving into finding the person who killed his mother, like how are they going to like make gradual progress toward that? And then like, oh, we found out about the list of names, right? So the story's probably going to be divided into arcs, more or less, of him going after each of these individual names and figuring out more shit, and eventually making the longest and most convoluted episode of Mari ever. And then fuck you, nobody laughed. But yeah, no, that answered a question that I was wondering just how the show was going to be structured, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode when he fucking ruins this guy's whole fucking career somehow.
Yeah. None, what did you think of the episode? Hello?
None?
Oh, he's muted.
Oh, he's missing.
Okay, I'll talk about it a little bit more. So I wanted to respond to one of the things Nun said last week more, because I was thinking about it during this episode, and like one thing that I like about the main character, and I liked it in this episode too, because I think it's like actually something that like is maybe supposed to be a like clearly a part of him, is that like he does still have like that kind doctor from a large part of episode 1 in him, and like, you know, I think like what happened to him in episode 2 and also happens to him in this episode a little bit, which is like, you know, obviously he initially got motivated to get into acting again because of, you know, like his his goal and this, you know, big thing he thinks he's gonna do, and like trying to kill the guy who got his mom killed. But like there's also this second half to it, I think, where he like then tries hard because he gets convinced by redheaded lady to like try, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like that's what happened in the last episode too, where like he is still like that nice guy who like will be swayed to, you know, help people even if he's pretending to be all edgy and above it all. And I would be I would not be surprised, actually, is what I should say, that like I would not be surprised if like the series eventually takes a direction where maybe he gives up on the revenge a little bit, or because he you know finds like friends and shit or something like that, or he finds a purpose, right? Because right now like this is his purpose, but if he finds like purpose in acting, or because he said
obviously not going to literally kill the guy.
No, I know, but like he said something along the lines of like in the episode that like he doesn't have like any lofty ambitions like being an actor or, you know, famous or anything like that, even though like clearly he's going to do that to try and accomplish like his current goal. But I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up finding purpose in something else, and that ends up becoming like what the series is about. Like I would not put that past, you know, with what we've seen so far, I think.
Well, see, what I was kind of thinking of is how basically their father is someone who exploited the industry for his, you know, benefit. Either, you know, like we don't know the full details of his relationship with I, obviously, but, you know, he did use the stalker basically and fed him information and stuff to like it, because that's an example of a person who, you know, he liked the idol industry, but he had illusions about like Ai's perfection, you know, which they mention a lot of don't have illusions. And then he used that to kill Ai basically and weaponize this guy. So I was thinking about how like what Aqua's doing here is like, here you have this producer who he is also a problem, you know, a symptom of the entertainment industry. And so he's going to go out with a bang and enact some sort of revenge on him, not kill him obviously, but like revenge on him as well. So like there's this like rejection of the negative parts of the entertainment industry, I guess, and through his revenge possibly. So you know, I guess that'll be, and you know, yeah, maybe the bonds he make will sort of save him from going too deep down into that hole. But you know, we'll see how it advances, because you know, there's a whole ass list of names and people he's got to fucking ruin. So yeah, what'd you think then?
It's a pretty decent episode. I really like Kana now. Like, I'm not gonna assume that she'll be like my favorite, but she could be. Like, I could see it. I'm really into her. I felt like unfortunately the episode stopped just before it was getting like really really interesting with like, fuck it, I'm here, I might as well try. Like, fuck, I really wanted to see like what he was gonna do.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm also looking forward to the next episode. And yeah, Kana's good. She's cute. And it's Dogakovo. You know, there was some good little bits of character animation and stuff. You know, I liked seeing her. And
they just don't miss. They really don't.
I think the interesting thing too is like kind of about what like Vindy was saying, how like how he might end up getting interested in acting and stuff. I was just kind of thinking back on like, you know, before not Aqua, before Ruby, you know, he didn't give a fuck about idols. Like he like, you know, but like he got into them because
you got the name
of his
right, and then I
relationship.
think or what do you?
No,
how do you
Ruby's.
before
no,
now I understand what you meant. No, gotcha,
Aqua got into idols because of Ruby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm thinking that like
right, they had
because
a real,
of Kana, he'll get into acting.
Yeah,
because she cares about it so much.
I got confused.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't have much more to say. Good episode.
I could probably go say a couple more things. Did you hear what I said, None, about I think like your thing last week with, because like I didn't fully talk about it because you weren't here. So like last week, you know, you were talking about how you didn't like that you felt like he changed his mind too quickly with the sister stuff and how he was okay with her being an idol. But I was thinking about it during this episode, and I think she just genuinely changed his mind. I think she just made a convincing argument and won him over. Like, I think that was just, like, what happened. You know what I mean? Because, like, that's what happened in this episode, too, right? Like, she made a convincing argument, made him care, won him over. I think he's just a big softie. It's great. I love it.
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, yeah.
So, are you referring to in this episode, like, just, like, how she made him do the acting thing? Or
So,
are you
like,
talking
specifically
about just,
the scene
how
where
to
they're
get-
at karaoke and she's talking to him and she's, like, talking about how she wants to do her best and she thinks that, like, the two of them can do something special and actually, like, make something that's, like, good and worthwhile, right? And, like, he has a look on his face that's, like, yeah, we could do that, right? And then the end of the episode shows that, like, he kind of was swayed by what she said, right? And, you know, she did win him over. I just think that, like, that's also what happened last episode, is that, like, his sister made, like, a good argument, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know. I still feel like in the last episode could have been, like, emphasized a bit more. Because I do think it was emphasized enough here every time he, like, changed his mind. Because, like, you know, the initial instance of, like, oh, this guy I'm looking for is at the acting thing. Okay, let me go. And then, you know, like, when she's talking to him in the booth and, like, really explaining herself, I felt like, you know, he more clearly reacted in a certain type of way that just, like, I felt like he didn't quite react in, like, a satisfying way for me personally in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Still a good show, though. Like, I'm still enjoying it. I think I'll really like the next episode.
I feel like I had something to add, but I forgot what it was. Oh, well. So, backlog?
Yeah, backlog. Nunmanji.
I literally finished nothing.
All right, so one rotation. Thank God, because I didn't finish anything either. What's something you touched and you'll just have to talk about twice? You know what I mean?
I watched a lot of Code Geass.
Hell yeah.
It's still really good.
All
you can
right.
do your rotation.
That's fair. I would like to hear more on that definitely when you finish your rewatch. I will talk about the Pokemon anime, both ones that I've been watching, because I don't think I've talked about the new one that I've been watching, but I've been watching the new series every week, except for, so I haven't seen episode 4 yet because we're recording this on Friday and subs came out while I was at work, and I have not had time since I got home from work and started recording to watch the episode yet. So I have not seen episode 4, but I've seen the first 3 episodes of the new Pokemon series, and I like it a lot. I think that especially then, and to also preface before I say any more, I've also been watching through Kanto because like I love what I've seen of Sumo and I love what I've seen of Pokemon Journeys, and I would love to watch both of those. But if I'm gonna watch both of those, and especially if I'm gonna watch Journeys, I want to watch like everything.
When did you watch Journeys? I don't even remember that.
I was watching it when it first started coming out. I've watched like 20 episodes of Journey.
You should be shy.
I want to go back and like watch all the Ash stuff. So I've been watching Kanto dubbed, and I'm like on Bye Bye Butterfree is the next episode I have. So I've seen like 20 episodes. And I went back to where I was, but I was like 10 episodes in. So I've watched like 10 episodes of Pokemon in the last week. Of just like Kanto, and then I've been watching obviously the episodes of the new series. And like I think that Pokemon, like, so I haven't seen Black and White and X and Y like ever in my life. But at least like what I know of Sumo and onwards, and then earlier Kanto, it just feels like the anime now uses Pokemon better, like uses them better in the series. A big part of that is like most of the time in Kanto, all the Pokemon are in their fucking Pokeballs outside of Pikachu, and then they come out when they're useful, or occasionally, you know, there's like the episode where they're shipwrecked and they're all out. But for the most part, you know, Misty's like, and you know, as Pokemon goes, that changes, right? Because you can even remember like Misty's Psyduck starts popping out of the Pokeball, and Wobbuffet starts popping out of the Pokeball, and you know, like there are other Pokemon that start coming out more frequently. But like when you watch the newer Pokemon series, most trainers like primary Pokemon is just always out and chilling and living their life unless something happens, right? And even like on the ship, there's like Pokemon, because like in the new series, they're on an airship and it's fucking cool. And there's Pokemon doing like just jobs on the airship all over, right? And so you see them, and so you just see a lot more Pokemon, which is like why I'm watching the fucking Pokemon anime, right? I want to see the cute little monsters. I want to see them happy. I want to see them do like little funny faces and do silly things. That's why I'm watching. That's genuinely 90% of why I watch, is to get screen caps of Pokemon doing silly shit, right? And then when I care about the character stuff, that's like a bonus and is exciting. But, you know, I'm watching for what's in the name. And that's something that, you know, I don't think is done as well. And I think, like, obviously a large part of that, right, is that, like, now the Pokemon anime is probably being done by people who grew up with Pokemon and love Pokemon. And, you know, when Kanto came out, it was people who didn't grow up with it, right? It was coming out, you know, then, or, like, in the future when they were doing, like, the early episodes of Kanto. They didn't fucking care about it in the same way, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like that's not to say it's bad. Like there's enjoyable parts of it, but you know.
Mm-hmm. Why isn't that so toxic as episode?
Yeah, you said like 4 words.
Well,
6.
It is what it is. The new Pokemon show is alright. I liked episode 3. I watched that one like recently.
Yeah, it was good.
I kind of interested in how the group thing is going to play out, since she's, you know, traveling with a whole group. Like Ash's group has never really gotten that big, even when he's like had like, you know, the 2, like I think in X and Y he's traveling with like 3 people,
which is the same
like,
as Advanced.
Karina joins in for a bit, even when he has like a temporary travel partner or whatever. The group never got as large as the one in this one. So I'm curious like how that's going to play out.
Yeah, honestly, it gives me a little bit of like Eureka 7 vibes every episode. And I know it's just because they're like on a big ship in the sky with like a crew, but like it just gives me similar vibes, you know?
Okay, I knew about Captain Pikachu, but I didn't know about that.
Dude, I love Captain Pikachu. Speaking of the GOAT, one thing I was typing about this in Discord. It's so fucking smart what they did. So Captain Pikachu uses completely different moves than Ash's Pikachu did, right? Like, you know, Craftsdwarf. What move does Ash's Pikachu use every time he wants to attack? What does he have the little guy do?
I mean, aside from Thunderbolt, I also remember Iron Tail being kind of a move that he ended up using a lot.
Yeah, so those are like the 2 big ones, right? And he has like Electro Ball and I think like Quick Attack. But like, yeah, like Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt was what I was getting at, and then like Iron Tail. Captain Pikachu normally uses Thunder Punch. He uses like Double Team. So like even then, right, there's immediately a difference where he uses Double Team and like constantly is making these clones, and then uses like
Volt Tackle.
Yeah, Volt Tackle, and he uses
which Ash did have for a bit, but he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, and he uses like Thunder Punch instead of Thunderbolt. So like
he's like a physical attacker more so.
Yeah, so like
comparison to Pikachu,
because the way he fights is different, that distinguishes him. And then the rest of the time, he has his hat on and his arms folded. So like he feels very different from, you know, the Pikachu that people have been watching for 20 years, which like is I feel like hard to do with a Pikachu. Like not hard to do, but like I'm surprised how clear, like distinct it's been with Captain Pikachu only being in 2 episodes that I've seen so far. Also, I really like that this series has a like unique and distinct like bad team. Like they're not just a team from the games or Team Rocket. It's like a team unique to this series, which I think is fucking awesome and is something that I would.
Yeah, no, that's
I would love, and I don't know if you've heard me make this point, Craftsdwarf. I think you maybe have. Maybe I told it to you, but like watching this has made me genuinely hope that like they just do yearly, like every year, just like give me a new set of Pokemon characters and just do it like Precure or like Toku shit. You know what I mean? Because I would be so down for that. Because I'm like genuinely enjoying this series a lot. I like how fresh it feels. And I don't know, like with what they're setting up, if it's like going to be a long thing, if it's just going to last during Scarlet and Violet, and if we're going to see Liko and Rai after that, or like what they're going to do with it. But the 3 episodes out right now have me like really excited and curious, and yeah, I'm really into the new Pokemon series.
I feel like the weird thing about this series too is like so far we haven't seen anyone that's in any other form of Pokemon. Like there's no gym leader that we've
true,
seen
yeah.
so far.
What
there's
the
no
fuck?
like
Well, I was about to
there's
ask
no
if
like
it's
everyone's
actually
an original
adapting
character
Scarlet and
to
Violet.
this so far.
Oh, okay, that's
And
interesting.
even though they are in like real regions
Yeah.
that exist, it doesn't really feel like they're in a region from the games.
Like the main character's from Palladia, and like she is going to school in Kanto in the first episode.
Oh, okay.
But like there's
it
even
doesn't
like
feel like Kanto at all.
there's even like a really interesting thing in the school, which is like everyone gets their like in their class, right? Gets their like Pokemon on like the same day, and they just all get handed starter Pokemon, which is so goofy to see, like because it's like all the Gen's starter Pokemon getting handed out to like like a class of like 30 kids. So you just see like the rows of the starter Pokemon. It's like this one goes to this kid and this one goes to this. It's like that's so fucking goofy. I love it. I love it.
Okay, no, because I was I figured it was a Scarlet Violet season, so I was wondering like if they were gonna adapt the actual Scarlet Violet story, but apparently not? Question mark?
No,
Like,
not
that's
at all.
interesting.
The
Because she doesn't even like fight like gym leaders and stuff.
Okay. Oh yeah, they're not even in Paldea, so yeah, they wouldn't be able to. Never mind.
I mean, they're going to Paldea
they're going there. Okay.
soon.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be like
I'm
Journeys
pretty
where
sure
they go
they'll
to
just
all
go wherever
yeah.
they need to go.
Yeah, I think Journeys probably changed that for like ever, and Pokemon will never be like region specific, like where they're only in one, because Journeys isn't like that with, because that, right, Craftsdwarf, that Journeys isn't just Galar.
Okay, no, I was aware to a degree I was, but I guess part of me still just assumed that it was basically just like every other season where it's still basically adapting the story.
No.
But okay, no, I didn't.
I'm
know
pretty
that.
sure
Okay.
Ash is like still stationed in Kanto, even in.
Oh.
Yeah, he is, because he wakes up, I
Okay.
think, in the first episode, like in his home in Pallet Town, in the first episode of Journey. So he's like stationed in Kanto. I think they're in Vermilion though, but I could be wrong. But like, yeah, they're in Kanto,
okay,
and then they just go to other regions and go like all around to shit, to like the stories they go to.
I do think this season, like, there'll probably be a little more Paldea than Galar in comparison to Journeys, just because like the mystery pendant is probably related to like Galar and like a Galarian, not Galar, like a Paldean Pokemon.
Oh, I'm sure. And I mean, she's from there,
or,
and so I'm sure she'll be there a lot, and there will be a lot of time.
And obviously her like mother or like grandmother or whatever is over there.
And we know, but like also, so we know though that like, or I feel like, do we know, was Roy supposed to be a Alolan?
They didn't say yet.
Did you? Okay, I couldn't tell from the end of episode 3 where he was, but it seems like it's gonna be focused on
because he's brown.
No, I think I was assuming because he was on the beach. So it was because he was an islander.
You see that he's brown and you think, oh, he looks like those people from Alola.
No, I see that
weird.
he's on a beach, and I think that because it was Hawaii, and those are islands with a lot of beach. But, yeah, I mean, so he looked like he was gonna be episode 4, but we know he has a Fuecoco, so I'm sure there's gonna be and one of the main bad guys on the enemy team like has an Armor Rouge, and then the other ones have Skarmories, which you can catch in Scarlet and Violet. So like it's clear that there is still a very strong push with the show to show things you can get in the game, in like the most recent game, and show Pokemon from the game. But I do think they'll go around, and I'm curious to see. And I'm really curious to see what this means for the Pokemon anime long term now that they are moving away from Ash. Is like, is Liko like the long term MC, or is she, a year or 2 or 3 and then a new one,
Honestly, I feel like Roy, he's probably from Paldea, given that next episode they're going to Paldea. Like, unless they go to Paldea for like 10 minutes and then they go to Alola for 10 minutes.
That's
of the
true.
Same episode.
I guess that's fair.
They're just racist.
Fuck, you got me. All right, Craftsdwarf, what's your backlog thing?
So I was on YouTube for one reason or another. I forgot what I was even watching, and in the sidebar I saw something I never would have fucking expected, and so I had to watch it. So it was the pilot for Lackadaisy, which is a Kickstarter animation that is adapting a webcomic I read back in the fucking like 2000s. Because I don't know how much I've talked about this, because I kind of forgot, honestly, like that I used to be a fucking huge webcomic gobbler, and I read a shitload of them, and so Lackadaisy is a webcomic that at the time it probably had some of the best art in webcomics at the time. Like, it's still really good. Like, I actually own a physical book that compilates some of the basically there's a story to it, but it's basically the first volume, so to speak, where basically the premise is like, I mean, if you look at it, they're cat people, but it takes place in like Prohibition era, US alcohol. They're trying to make sales and stuff, and it was also, I remember feeling it was notable for having like the author. She very clearly had a great like, she did her fucking research in regards to like historical accuracy. Like, she would mention trivia, like she'd say, yeah, the Arch radio didn't exist at this time period, but I wanted to draw one in anyway. Or like, a checkbook would actually be like 3 pages, but I wanted it to be recognizable, so I ignored that. Like, she would explain the historical inaccuracies in her own work that I never would have been able to point out, and so other than that, like, I'm very disconnected from the story and characters. Like, I recognize them, but so I just like saw this in my fucking sidebar recommended to me, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Because I literally haven't thought about this webcomic in years, and then it's now been animated through Kickstarter, I guess in hopes of getting a full series. So I watched it, and yeah, it was pretty fun. It was wild. It's definitely a little rough. Like, how they draw the lines like across the face so that they could do the perspective for the eyes and stuff correctly. Like, there was like, those were visible sometimes, but like overall it still looked really good, and it was a pretty decent production. I enjoyed the episode. I just cannot believe that it's fucking real, so I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's it. What are you guys going to be unable to talk about next week because you didn't finish it?
So here's the problem. I'll just name the things I'm going through right now and why I don't think any of them are likely candidates. So I'm watching Succession, but I'm like 4 episodes into season 3. They're hour-long episodes, and I don't want to talk about it until season 4 is done, which is still a couple weeks away. So even if I were to finish season 3 and catch up to season 4, probably wouldn't talk about it. After that, I'm going to watch Better Call Saul, which, like, yes, is all done, but like it's still a full season of 40-minute, hour-long episodes. You know what I mean? So probably
you
we'll
need
talk
to
about
catch
that.
up to a long show before you can even begin to think about talking about this other show that you're not going to talk about too.
Well,
so
Succession isn't that long episode count wise, because it's like 9 episodes I think in season 3, and I'm on like 4, and then it's like 5 episodes, 6 episodes in season 5. Ted Lasso is the other show I'm watching, but I'm watching that as episodes are coming out. It's still a couple weeks away from ending, so that I won't be able to talk about that. Then I'm reading Eye of the World right now, which is a 900-page fantasy novel, and I'm like 300 pages in. So I'm not ready to talk about that. Potentially by next week, not likely. Then I'm playing like a lot of like multiplayer games, which aren't really shit I can talk about, and like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is a long as fuck like open world Ubisoft, shitfest that I probably won't even finish. So there's no shot I'm talking about that. So like, I'm just fucked. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'll offer it again, but if you want a free space or a get out of jail free card, we can still talk about Monster Hunter Rise.
Not till I fight a monster, which I haven't done yet. So like, I'm fucked.
Okay.
My hands are tied behind my back, right? Like, I would love to talk about Monster Hunter Rise. I would love to honestly just do a podcast about Monster Hunter Rise. But I have to fight everything in the newest update, which I haven't done yet.
Okay, understandable actually. For me is I still haven't talked about Hoshino Samadare, but that also might get pushed back if we only do one rotation, because I'm almost done with fucking Bakuman, rereading that, and it goes fucking hard. So I'll definitely be talking about that. Probably way too much, honestly. So yeah.
One thing I do have to say, this is months away, but I do want to mention this really quickly in case gamers haven't seen. My manga arc is about to come back hard as fuck because it was announced that with the next iOS update, they're going to allow side-loading apps. So I'm just going to cross my little fingers and pray Tachiyomi comes to iPhone, and then I'm back to reading manga 24/7, boys.
A little bit,
Let's fucking go!
That's
I would
cool.
not cross your fingers that it's going to be like
What do you mean?
immediately as soon as they
Why?
allow
Why not?
side loading.
Why not?
Because they wouldn't have to optimize the app for iOS. I feel like
They could
would.
literally already have it made for iOS though, right? Like if Apple just like allow side loading in the iOS, you can make an iOS version now, barely update it when 17 comes out, and then like boot it up. Like obviously I don't know if that's what they're gonna do, but like it won't take that long, and then I'll be a manga reader again, so it's okay.
Okay.
Alrighty though, yeah, that's it for me.
Do you have anything then, or nah? Aside from gay ass.
I mean, I just had 6 more episodes of R1.
Oh my god, yes, my ass is so gay right
Yes. Finally.
now. Yes. All right, adios, gamers. See you next time.
Next week. Yeah, that.